Hello, welcome to a tutorial on creating a Counter-Strike Global Offensive server. We will cover how to install the server as well as update, and we will also cover how to configure a server as well as install SourceMod and MetaMod source. First, we'll start out by creating the folder where we will install the server. I went ahead and created a folder called CSGO. Then we have to create a folder called SteamCMD where we'll install the tools to download and install the server files. I need you to go to this website where it talks about SteamCMD. It's a command line version of the Steam client. And we just have to follow the instructions. We already created a folder for SteamCMD. And this is the download link. I already downloaded, it's on the desktop here. Now if you scroll down, I'll talk about how to run SteamCMD. I already created the folder. Now we have to log in. So you just open up the file, the zip file. I already have it here, I'll just delete it and show you. So you just drag it into the folder, double click it. It should download and install and extract the files necessary to download the server files. Okay, once it's done, you should have all the files in the folder. Now to install, you gotta log in first. You type logging anonymous. If it asks you for a password, then you spelled it wrong. Usually if you log in with a different name, it's usually your Steam client account. It'll ask you for a password, but this method, it won't ask you for a password. Next, we have to define where we're going to install the server at. So you do force underscore install underscore direct. And then you have to put the location of the folder. So you go back to the folder CSGO. You could either copy and paste the directory address, or you could just drag the folder. It should give you the address. Press enter. If you don't define the location where you're going to install the server, it should install in the default location where your SteamCMD is. So if you go here, go to Steam apps, there should be a folder called common where it will install the Counter-Strike dedicated server files at. Next, we start the installation. So you do app underscore update 740 is the application ID for Counter-Strike Global Offensive dedicated server. And you press enter. You should go through the process of downloading all the files, but I already did it. So it's successful. If you want to download other server files, you have to look up the application ID. So you could either go through this website here. It gives you the Steam application IDs for each game as well as the dedicated server files. Or you can go here, dedicated server list. Gives you all the IDs for each game you could download. Whether if you could download through SteamCMD or some other method. Okay, once it's done downloading, you need to check that everything's there, so you do app underscore update 740, but instead you add validate. So it'll go through the process of validating each file, making sure everything is there. If there's anything missing, it should re-download it. It might take a while, but I already did the process, so after it's done, all you have to do is type quit, and you should have all the files. I'm just going to exit out because I already did this process already. Okay, if you go back to the folder, you should have all the files already installed here. Next part, we have to make the command line to start the server. But before we do that, I'll just show you how to create a shortcut where you could update the server without having to go through the whole process of typing all that information to update it. So here I created a shortcut. It references the location of the SteamCMD. So it's located here, server CMD, this execute file. And I have all the settings, login, what directory you want to install it in, update what application ID, and then validate. So you could have this anywhere. You could have it on the desktop or in the folder. It doesn't rely on having it in the same location as the SteamCMD, since it's just a shortcut. So you could just move it in here and run it. You go through the process of logging in, checking the files, and updating if it's old or new. That's one method. This other method, it's a scripting. It references a file depending on the location. So it's referencing the SteamCMD execute. It runs a script located here. This is the script. It's the same thing as this in a different format. It's in text, in a text file. The login, location of the server. In this case, it's CSGO application update. That's another method. So afterwards, we gotta create the startup command. So if you go back here, it just talks about, the command line, the one I just showed you. You could either automate the process of updating the server through command line or creating a script just like that. Now to starting the server, there's different ways to do it. But the method we're going to use is a batch file. If you open it up, this is how it looks like. This is actually where it starts the server, as well as define some options. So for this first part, it references where the srcds execute is in our folder. You can create also a shortcut to where you could put in the settings like these. Settings are in launch the server that way. But we're just doing a batch file. It's easier. So this is this console type of game, CSGO. This one just enables Archon access. And the game type, we're gonna do a classic competitive. So it's this one here. If you want to do classic casual, you have to change these settings to 00, as well as these other options: arms race, demolition, or deathmatch. Tick rate, you could have it as 64 or 128. And then the max players override is the number of players you could have on the server. I'm gonna put 32. You could put 64 or anything else, 10, depending if your computer can handle it. But the IP, to get the IP, it's the IP of your computer. You go to command prompt and type ipconfig, and then look for either your Wi-Fi adapter, or if you're connected through Ethernet cable, which is my method. And it's this one, Ethernet adapter. IPv4 address is 192.168.166. You put that there. And the port, the default port, you could just put that, 27015. And this one, client port, this is a very important step. If you don't put this option, you may not be able to connect to your server. If you're trying to do globally, if you're trying to make your server open to the public, you try to like play on the same computer as well as launch the server, you'll have an issue connecting to the server. There's like a conflict in port. The default client port is 27005. So I changed it to 27006 so it won't conflict when you try to connect to that server. Then it's just the map DS2. Then you have the execute server config. I haven't put a server config, but we'll put it later. Now this step is new. This is a token. He added this, I think, last year for Counter-Strike Global Offensive server. So you have to log in into your account and generate a token to be able to use the server globally. If you don't, it will be locked into LAN, local area network, so only you can connect to it or whoever's in your network. So I'll show you. If you don't have this, I'll just copy it and launch it. So this is just the watchdog. If your server crashes, it should check if it's running or off and it'll restart it again. So there it says no Steam account token was specified. So you log in anonymous. So connection will be restricted to LAN only. That's why you need that token. And to do that, you have to create a game server account. You could just use your Steam client account and just go to this address to register for a token. So if you type status, 32 slots, see, everything's there. So if you type quit, the watchdog should restart it. So there it's restarting. It says warning, SRCD crashed or closed. It restarts it. So you have to just exit. Then you could quit. You could either put yes or just exit out of the window. So I'll just put it back. So for the next part, how to get that Steam token, you have to go, there's an example here, this blog that discusses how to do it. So you just visit manage game servers and log in into your account, and you could just put in the ID and put the name for it, so you have a token here. You go here, when you first visit it, it just shows you this, all the rules and requirements. So you can't be banned, your Steam account can't be banned, not be limited. You have to have your Steam account registered to a phone. You must own the game. If you don't own Counter-Strike Global Offensive, you can't make a server for it. And you can create up to 1,000 game server accounts. So once you log in, you should have this page. Already log in. So you could either regenerate the token, set the memo, change his name, or delete it. So there's like certain rules, you're not supposed to distribute this. Because if you get banned with one of these tokens, if one of your tokens gets banned, your whole account gets banned. You can't create more servers or generate more tokens. So this is the one we're using for our server, CSGO. So if you want to create another one for another game like TF2, 440 and you put gf2 server, create another one, you'd regenerate. It just got error. I'll just delete it. But you get the idea. So you take this, copy it, and put it in your command prompt. Startup line. Set Steam account to this. Then you'll be able to see the server globally. Okay, we're gonna launch the server. Make sure it's shown globally. See, we have it registered with a token. If we don't have that error message. So it's working. Right now we don't have the server config yet. So we'll put that next. You go to CSGO config. Then you have to create a server config. So you right click, text file, put server.cfg, remove the extension txt for text. It should save as a config file. If it doesn't save, then you did it wrong. There's a way to change it. So you go to View, Options. This is for Windows 10. Go to View, have this disabled. If you have this on, it'll hide all the extensions. You don't have it. You want to have it on. So if you try to create the file again, server.config, it's a text file. It's not a config file, CFG. So you have to disable that. Go back there. Hide extensions for known file types. Disable that. So it should show all the extensions. So you redo it again. Server.cfg. It'll ask you if you want to change it. You put yes. It'll refresh it. It should work. There it is. It's a CFG config file. I already have one created, so I'll just drag it and replace it. So if you open it, this is all the settings for the server config file. And I put like places where you could look up some common commands. So I'll show you the link. Common command line options. Oh, actually, it's this one. Console. Gives you a list of console commands common to all Source Engine games. So if you don't understand like a setting here, you could search it up. Some of them gives you descriptions of it. If you want specifically for Counter-Strike Global Offensive, it's here, this link. So I included that on the second line, list of CSGO, CVARs, console commands or commands, variables. So they give you a description. So only like most of the descriptions here are from that website. I just included them if you don't understand what they mean. And then another set I included where I got this config from is from here. CSGO dev server.cfg. I took some of their, already made config and just move it around. I also included that there in this link. So I'll go over it. This config here, I'll talk about it later, but this is a very important config file. It determines, like the type of game mode you want to play. Also like specific settings, round settings, money, etc. Started with the host name here. Just call it Ghost Assassins Counter-Strike Global Offensive Server. SP for 0 is the LAN. You have to have it 0 or else if I put it as 1, it'll stay as a LAN server. Region, I put this put 255. If you want more information about this, you can just go to this link. Or you just put 255 for world as default. If you live somewhere else, Asia, Europe, South America, you could put the number according to your location. And tags, I just put Ghost Assassin. When you go launch your server and try to look for it globally on the internet browser, server list, there's a section where on the bottom where it says tags or include tags. You could type that name and then you could find the server easier, whatever name you could put, I don't know, YouTube. Then type YouTube, you'll find servers with that tag. Then you got your Archon password, Archon address. I'll just leave it as 0. You can put a password on your server. You don't want anyone else to go into it. And you have SP down URL. This is usually pointing to a directory where you could like download a faster download directory. You have like custom maps, skins. You could put all those in there and it should be faster for people to download, but that's a whole nother tutorial. So we get our basic settings, auto balance, auto kick, TK. All talk, voice enable, speed cheats. Your servers are pure. And enable logs, no logging. Bans. You could define the location, the directory where you put your logs at. So I'll show you an example. So you put logs, it should be located here. Guess I deleted it. Is this the rates? If you have a 128 server tick rate, you put 128, I'll put 64 since I put it at 64. It's max rate, min rate. And this is just, these settings were from that website I mentioned. From here. I just left them in. I didn't delete them. Just I guess bunny hopping settings. Then some other settings, right, ID, IP. This isn't all the settings, but this is mostly for server config. So server config is located in here. CSGO, CFG. Now for the next part, you have to create a new file depending on the type of game mode you pick. So if you go back to this website, Counter-Strike Global Offensive Dedicated Servers. Talks about the type of game modes, classic, casual, competitive. It's all here depending. Since we picked classic competitive, we're going to do competitive. So we have to create a file called game mode competitive _ server. So this file includes all the settings, for setting up the bots, money, round settings, voting, all other options, the type of weapons you want your CT or T you want to spawn with when you start the game. I also included the same, links as the server config file. You want to look through them. And the reason why we put them here is because this file overrides all the other modes. If you take all these settings and put them in the server config, they might be overwritten by the configs there. I don't know why they did that. It's different for Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So you gotta make a game mode _ the type of game mode you're using. If you're gonna use casual, you call this casual _ server. CFG. You're gonna use anything else, deathmatch, you gotta create a config for that. Game mode, deathmatch underscore server. This file overrides all the settings of all these depending on what game mode you define in your command line. So this is a very important step. If you don't do this and you decide to take all the settings from here and put it in your server config, not all of the settings will be applied. It might be overwritten by some of these configs. So let's go over it. The bot configs, they're just based on the default. We go to this website, list of commands, this list of CSGO common, console commands. You could look through them, search them if you don't understand, what does this command do? But I already included all of them through him, so you could just look through them. So for the most part, it's just straightforward. Just depending on how you want to configure it, you could do whatever you want. So this is another website you could look through, like custom game mode. Talks about more information about how to configure it, an example of it. If you're not sure how it works, you can just read through this. Okay, for the next part, we'll talk about, game mode server. This determines, like the map cycle of your game mode. So you have to configure that. So you go to CSGO, this directory, and look for a file called game modes underscore server.txt example. This is done on purpose because you have to configure it yourself. So you just rename this, remove the example, and then press enter, and it should be the text file. I'll just leave it. I'll just copy the one I made already. You open this up. This is all the settings. This is all the maps. I just went through the map folder and just copied each name and put them in there. There's a way to generate this. You could go to this website, config creator. This is the link to it, game modes underscore server.txt. So if you go there, this config creator, go to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, game mode server.txt. Then you could create your own file. You could generate your own file instead of having to do this by manually. You could type out custom maps and then add your maps. You could, if you have a different kind of map, you could add it to the list. And then the type of game mode you're doing. Since we're doing classic competitive, click that. Then show or hide config. So it'll show you how it's gonna look like right now. Then you go to configure game modes. There's some other settings you could put. Amount of max players, 64. You could add executable files, server config, game modes, competitive, server.cfg. And it should add it automatically. This is the easier way. Then you could, add custom server commands depending on the type of game mode you have. If you want like gravity off or gravity lower than 800, you want it 200, you could add that to the game mode. So you could add custom, server commands. Try you could just save it or download it. The next map, you could configure this, the map list or map cycle. I already went ahead and went through the directory and copied all the maps located in the maps folder. I'll just overwrite them. So for right now, we'll launch the server and test it out if it works. We go back CSGO, we have our batch file, double click it, should launch. Make sure you have your Steam exit out or else you won't be able to get into game. So I'll show you once it's loading up. So if you open it and try to go inside and try to launch your game, it's gonna say that it's already running. See, it's running already, so you can't really play. Oh, it'll give you an error that you're already playing it. So you gotta exit out Steam, which will also close that since it's thinking that it's running also. So first, after we have that exit out, we'll launch the server first. Okay, it's running. Now we have to launch our game. So it's going to log in into Steam and launch the game. So I'm just running the game in window mode so I could show you that it's working. I haven't talked about, port forwarding and all that yet. I'll show you how to do it. Play, browse. Since we have the server already forwarded, you won't see it on LAN. See our server's right here. You refresh it. And type. See, it's got the tags. Join it. So it's connecting right now. See our Steam ID right there, our name. But right now I have the server configured to where if you join, you have bots. You could kick the bots or whatever, or remove them. So yeah, this is the settings. I have the bots with grenade, pistol, and a M4 weapon. So we get a warm-up timer here. So I'm gonna type Archon password to test it out. I haven't showed you the port forwarding yet, but it should work. Okay, it's working. Archon say hello world. So it's showing right there, console. Archon. There's other commands to use Archon. You could change level or end round. Start game in 2 seconds. Should restart it.
Let's go. Fire in the hole.
It's restarting. The warm-up is already over. So you can configure what the bots have, weapons. If you want the radio chat off, it's all done in the game modes _ competitive _ server complete.
Let's go.
And I'll have like 20 bots.
Throwing a
If you
grenade.
don't want bots on the server, you could do bot
Staying here. Grenade out.
quota 0. We need to have
Bomb carrier spotted.
archon, so bot archon bot underscore
The bomb is on the ground.
quota 0.
Fire in the hole.
You could kick all the
They've
bots.
recovered the bomb. Back at the insertion point. I need
Let's see,
assistance.
start. There we have all the bots gone. Since we have bot quota at 0. If you want the bots back on, just do archon bot quota. You want 10 bots? 10 join.
Let's go, people.
You want more? Quota 20. To get more people joining back again. There's a bunch of settings or console settings. Online. If you look through here, there's some settings for bots. You know, bot add weapons. You just look through this website for other settings.
Roger. I need help over there.
Spectate. So once you quit or disconnect, all the bots should leave. See, all the bots already left. So I quit. So for the next part, I'll show you how to do port forwarding. So I'm going to exit out. Exit out of Steam. So this is how the game modes underscore server text looks like for mine. So for this talks about all the ports required for Steam. Steam servers. So you got Steam client 27,000 to 27,015. These are all the ports required. Dedicated lesson server, you need all those. TCP, UDP. Then if you're running a Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer server, there's other ports for that. So I'll open up another window. So for my setup, I'm behind like 2 routers. Most of the time people are behind like a router or they're connected to a modem. So I'll show you. So yeah, this is your computer. I'm connected to a router. Just connected to a modem. So the average person, this should be the average user has a computer connected to a router. It could be through Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi. So for port forwarding, you have to port forward your routers. Usually the default is like 192.168.1.1. So you have to log in your router and port forward the Steam ports on this website. And your modem, depending on what model you have, you may have to port forward also. But most of the time, if you have like the new model, usually they combine these two. So they got like a router and a modem. combine. If you have like a AT&T, you know, AT&T, DirecTV, Uverse, that's their brand, or online, or Comcast, they combine their router and modem together. So you may be connected. This is your computer. It's connected either to, Ethernet or Wi-Fi. So you would have to port forward this, login and port forward. So there's different kinds of, login passwords and stuff. But it's basically the same idea. So the one my setup, I'm connected through 2 routers. Because my location from my modem router is like pretty far, so I have it like this. I got a router and / modem. So I would have to port forward this one router as well as this twice. Since I'm connected through Ethernet cable, even through Wi-Fi, you would have to port forward through both. So I'll show you 2 examples of port forwarding on different devices. Basically the same idea. They might call it differently, port forwarding and such. So I'm going to open the first router. I'm connected to a Netgear, so it's 1.968.1. Ask you for password. Could be admin or password, depending on what you have set up. If it's the default, it might be this admin. So this is my router in Netgear, WNDR3300. So you gotta go to port forwarding, port triggering. I already have it all port forward already. LAN IP address is this. So if you go back to the website, these are the ports required. A lot of them, overlap, like 27,015 and 15, so they overlap. And you got one that's TCP 2714 to 2750. So you gotta pick a range. I did like 2700 to 2750. I just put them together. If you try to do them individually, you get an error on your router or modem saying the ports are being used, they're overlapping. So I'll show you a picture. Where is it? This is what I port forward on the other router or modem combination. So we'll go back and so I did 27,000 to 2750 TCP UDP. It says UDP only, but I just did both since this one requires TCP. If I were to do it individually, it's going to overlap, so I just did UDP and TCP together from range from 27,000 to 27,050. Covers everything. Then you got these other ports, 3, 4. So if you edit, I just put the name of the service. You can put any name. I just call it this so I can know what I did. 2700 there in your server IP. You do it for each one. It's straightforward, it's not complicated. So these are the other ports. Here. I'll just put it together since they're right next to each other. and then you just save it. Make sure it's port forwarding and it's from start and end port. It has a range. If it says range, that's correct. If it says single port forwarding, that's wrong. It only opens up a single port. Look for the one where it says port forwarding or port forwarding range. If it says single port forwarding, that's the wrong place to go to. It will only open up one port. You define like 27,000, but 2750, it will only open these ports, this specific 27,000 or 2750 if you go to single port forwarding. So look for the range one, port forwarding range. But this is for the Netgear. So if you go back to our picture, I'm port forwarding this. This is down. This is the other router. I have a AT&T DirecTV, router. So the goal there is 192, 168, 254. So if you're not sure what's your gateway, that's usually you go to command prompt and type ipconfig and look for your either Wi-Fi adapter, or if you're connected to Ethernet cable, your Ethernet adapter is your default gateway. So this is how you find your modem or router combination URL, and then your IPv4 or your LAN IP address, local area network. So here, if you have this kind of router, AT&T or DirecTV, since AT&T owns DirecTV now, so this is a ARIS router. So you go to firewall, NAT, network attached, gaming. And depending on your router, it might have a password, so you would have to ask, whoever has access to your router, you have to ask them for the password. So after that, it'll show you all the ports you already have forwarded. I have other stuff here already. So if you look down here, I already have these ports forwarded already. So the way to do it, if you have this type of router, you go to custom services. And then you fill out the information here, such as this, and add them. So you could edit them. So let's look at one example. So I guess I can't edit it since it's being used, but when it's not used, you could edit it out. So you got options here: TCP, UDP combo. Mostly you just have to fill out this information, service name, and global port range from here. You could ignore this, you don't need to fill that out. And just define. So return back. And then if you want to add it, usually it pops up here. So say we have this number is SteamCMD 27. It should pop up this, and it should have an asterisk next to it. So that's basically saying that it's not in use yet. So you click on that, and then look for your device here. Depending on how your device is set up, if you have like the name of your computer, mine's called user-PC. So you click on that, and then you click add, and it should be add here. So you do that for each one. So I already have it here for each port, and you should be good. That's all you have to do. So this is all the ports required. Make sure we have to open all of these. If you're not sure how to do it, you could go to this website called portforward.com, and you could look for your model of your router. So there's a bunch of guides there you could just look through. Just the routers. if you have like, I don't know, Linux or Lexi, or Netgear, you can look through here. All the different kinds of routers you have. Some ads here. See, this is all the different kinds of models under this kind. So there's a lot of information here. This is a good source if you don't know the type of router you have. If you know the name, you could probably find it here. It's a whole list. It's a pretty good website if you want to port forward other, applications besides, the server, Xbox, PlayStation, all that. Then you can go to this website, yougetasignal.com, to check your ports if it's open. I don't know, for my setup, it always says it's closed, but I guess mine's different since it only shows that it's open if it's in use. If it's not in use, it says it's closed. So look, if you type 270, this is supposed to be open. Let me check. It says it's closed, but if you launch the server, let me launch it back again. Status, check it. Yeah, it's already launched. If you go back, try to check it, it should be open. See, it's open since my server is running. Here, and if I close it, when it's not in use, it should say it's closed. Say it's closed. I don't know why it does that. That's for my setup. And afterwards, you should be good on, seeing your server online globally. So we'll just launch it up again. We'll launch it first. Or you could log in into your Steam account and log in CSGO first. Doesn't matter. It's just you can't have them on at the same time. Like if you log in into Steam right now and then try to launch it, it's gonna think that this is Counter-Strike Global Offensive, the game, but this is actually the server. So you gotta launch them one at a time. So after that's launched, I'll launch the game. Click on play, browse. You can find your server, just type in the SV tags, whatever tags you put it as Ghost Assassin. See, if you check here, if your server is showing up here, then it's only LAN. If you look here on the global internet, it's showing up. It's connecting right now. If you look to the left, it should be connecting. So all the bots join.
Go, go, go.
So with port forwarding, your friends should be able to join, but if for some reason they can't join, you gotta make sure, you gotta check your ports. They're correctly set. If you have like a antivirus, like Malwarebytes, if you have the premium version, sometimes it might block people. It doesn't recognize, the connection. It'll pop up on the bottom of your desktop saying that you blocked like someone's IP. So you could, if you want to have other people connect to your server and they have issues connecting, you could try turning off your antivirus. That might be the reason why it's blocking or preventing people from joining. So for the most part it's running. Just having a warm up. So for the next part, I'll show you how to install, SourceMod and MetaMod source. If you want to add admin plugins. Since we don't have admin, the only thing we have is access to Archon. You could kick people.
Let's get this done.
You could kick Paul. Some guy Ian joined.
Grenade out.
You could change the difficulty of the bots in your game modes _competitive _server config. Right now they're set as 1, the easiest.
Bomb has been planted.
So yeah, you could interact with this. Let's see. So it should show up if you look at your game. Now you could kick people. Kick who will. Oh yeah, I got disconnected. So it works.
Fire in the hole. Grenade.
No!
Terrorists win.
So you could change the map. Use an Archon, change. See the maps. Archon. You can see the list of maps. So maps. Asterisk. So where should we go
Let's go,
to?
people.
Archon, change level to CS Office. So it should change. You could see it in the console right now.
Safety, people. Safety.
If you don't like the the bot chatter, you could disable it. I think it's bot _chatter.
Grenade.
You can set them as off. Use Archon.
Grenade out. Grenade. Fire in the hole.
So right now I have it set as warm up. You could disable warm up on the game modes _competitive _server
I need help.
if you don't want the warm up enabled. All of the settings are there. Right now I have I think friendly fire on.
Look out, sniper.
So I'm just gonna disconnect and we'll go to the next part. The next part will show you how to install MetaMod source and SourceMod. I already have the files downloaded. So this is another good website you can go to if you have any questions, or you could search through if there's any people here that have like similar problems to you. This website used to be, a lot active, but it's mostly been slowed down. It's very quiet. This is a good website. You could just search through it, just register an account and look through it if people have, similar issues. So for the next part, we're going to install SourceMod. But before we do that, we have to install MetaMod source. You go to this website, metamodsource.net. Since we're installing it for Windows, you just click on Windows, download. Just pick one of them and you'll download the files. So it's here. And all you have to do is just drag them into the folder. So you go to CSGO and drag them in here. That's all you have to do. If you're not sure, you could follow instructions. There's instructions here. You could follow this instructions, download, extract the package to your C-Strike add-ons. Then to check it, you type meta version when you launch the server. So I'll launch it back again and check if it's working. Okay. So you type meta version. Should show you. You look here. MetaMod mod source version 1.10.6. So it's working. So you got MetaMod source installed already. That's all you have to do is just download, drag into folder, and launch server. So if you have any issues, you can just read through this. The next part, we're installing SourceMod. So all you have to do is go to the website sourcemod.net, go to install and usage. There should be a link here in the front page. Stable builds. You could either go with stable builds or development builds. I usually go with the stable, just download it, click Windows and save. I already have it saved. So just exit, close the server down, and go back to CSGO, open the SourceMod file, and just drag all the folders in CSGO folder. They're all zip files. You could either use WinRAR 7 zip or just Windows Explorer. You don't really have to download any applications to extract this. You can just use Windows. Windows has its built-in zip file application to extract. So all you have to do is just move the files. Should be all here. So we're gonna test it out if it's installed. And after that, we'll add ourselves as admin. So if you go to the website SourceMod, there's some documentation, helping you out. You just read through this if you have any questions. If you don't know what to do, you have a good wiki page. And then here is installing SourceMod. It's not complicated. All you have to do is just download and extract your folder. That's all you have to do. It's the same thing as MetaMod source. Just download and extract. So the server should be working. So you do meta list. And if you look at it, it's installed SourceMod 1.7.3 dev. So you have SourceMod installed. And you have MetaMod source installed. Now for the next part, you have to, if you want to add yourself as admin, you go to CSGO, add-ons, SourceMod, configs, and open the admins _ simple. You could open it with a text file. This is how you add yourself as an admin. There's examples here. So these are just documentation explaining what's the base plugins. If you don't know what they are, you could read through here. Then here, this is how you add an admin using the file. This is the instructions here. We already opened this admin simple.ini. This is what we're going to do. We're going to look for our Steam ID. Just give us all the permissions. If you want to give like specific permissions, you don't want to give everything. If there's a bunch of flags here, you can look through and just give it depending on the person. You don't have to give them everything. Just passwords and stuff. There's detailed, you could specify other options. Steam ID, name. Or you could just keep it simple, it's easier. It's easier if you just edit the admin's simple file. So here are just, commands. If you don't know what they are, you could just look through here and just play around with them. So to find your Steam ID, you could use this website, steamidfinder.com. You could join a server and type status. And that should give your Steam ID. Or you could go to your community homepage, either through here. Click on community. Profiles. And then you just copy this. That's what you copy. Or you could just go Google it. Copy this. Go to Steam Finder and just paste it. And search. There's your Steam ID. Now we just have to go back. Go to File. Oops, I didn't copy it. Quotations, and then give all this 99, then Z. It gives you all permissions. You're mute to all the commands. So if another admin came in who has like a lesser flags than you and try to kick you or anything, they won't be able to kick you. You're immune. You're the highest level admin. Shouldn't be able to kick you. So you just save. Then we'll launch our server. We gotta exit out of Steam first. Or else it'll recognize the server as playing as the game. Go to CSGO, then we launch the server. Okay, it's running. Now we're gonna launch the game. So we just have to connect to the server. If you can't find it, you just type the tags and join. So to access admin, you do sm_admin, and you should have the menu. If you don't want to type it every time, you could bind it to a key. So you do bind F9 or F10. think I have it bind as F9, so you just press F9. You could use all the commands, slay some players, slay people. You could slap, kick, ban, there's other commands there. Firebomb. Beacon yourself. Other stuff going on. Gravity. And you got server commands. You could choose map and change it. So let's change it to something else. Let me see. Let's change it to train. So it should change the map to train. If you see these errors in the console, those are normal. It does that. It's normal. It's not like something wrong with your server. So we're on train.
We must defeat them.
Access. You can do voting. Alt talk, kick, map vote, gravity. You can vote FF.
I'm throwing a
To
grenade.
return friendly fire on. Off right now. If you want to turn it on, come on faster.
Grenade. I'm throwing a grenade.
Change friendly fire on. Should work now.
I need help. Grenade out. Move it, move it. Pay attention to what you are doing.
So everything works so far.
Sorry,
You could
need
type
help.
MetaList. See all the plugins on installed.
Grenade out. I need help. Grenade. I need help here. I'm throwing a grenade. Help. I need help. Help. Grenade. I need help here.
So this disconnect, everything works. So that's about it. That's all you need to do, to install the server, configure it, install some, admin plugin like SourceMod, sign admin, and you got your server. So if you want to make, another server, you could just copy and paste. If you want to make another second server, CSGO, it's the same process. If you want to install CS, I use the same method. Only differences is just the configuration will be different and the application ID will be different. And just Gary's mod and then Team Fortress 2. You just put all the servers together. If you want to run multiple servers, like CSGO 1, CSGO 2, CSGO 3, if you want to run multiple servers, the thing you have to change is the ports. You could use the same IP address, just the ports will be different. So for example, if I want to open this, I would have to change this port here. So if I want to launch one server with 2705 and then another server with 276, I would change this to this. This would be the second server, third server, eighth server. As far as port forwarding, all the ports are already covered since I did 27,000 to 2750. You just have to make sure that you don't pick a port that it's already in use. So if you go back to that port forwarding website, it's one of these links. So here, you gotta avoid, using some of these ports. You could use maybe 2716. Most of these ports from here, they're not really being used unless if you're running matchmaking or HLTV. You could do 27, 016, 17, 18, 19, 20. The same thing applies if you're running a different, type of game. If you're running CS or SourceMod or TF2, you could run both at the same time. It's just you have to make sure the ports are different. You could use the same IP, or you could give them, separate IPs. But that's a whole different story and stuff. Whole different tutorial. So hopefully this tutorial gave you everything. How to create a Counter-Strike Global Offensive server, as well as configure it, and install SourceMod, MetaMod source, as well as configure it, give yourself admin. So I'll put everything in a file. I put it in here. I'll give you the batch file example. All you have to do is just go through them and configure it to your own. Look up your IP and register your game token. I'll give you the update. Instead of having to go through that process, those instructions, log in, you could just configure it in here and just click on it and it'll do everything for you. Like I gave you examples, command line for launching the server, and then command line for updating or downloading the server. That's all here. I already have SteamCMD already here, and then this is everything installed. MetaMod source, SourceMod. I already have all the configurations here. I already created the server config, game mode, competitive server. If you're gonna use a different game mode, like casual, you just have to rename this. Instead of competitive, change it to casual. And you just have to make some settings. Got SourceMod. So everything is installed here. All you have to do is configure it a little, launch this one to download the files, and make some changes in the configurations, and you have your server. Also included all of the links that are located here. Most, like all of them. So you could just look through them if you have any questions. There's a bunch of resources here. So you should be set. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this helped you, give you an idea. It's not that complicated. It just takes a lot of work to do it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.